saying everybody's so nice here. Since I've been in town, they can't seem to do enough for me. Like you say, 60 years in show business, you know, and people, they walk up and say, you look good and all that stuff, you know. Well, one lady came up and says, Red Skelton, the first time I've ever seen you live. No one told me about this. I don't know what to say. When you need the damn writers, they're never around.
For decades, Red Skelton was America's lovable clown, the guy who could make anyone laugh. But behind that painted smile and those iconic routines, something dark was brewing.
But I've never walked up and really learned people's names because I found as a very small boy.
No one knew what he was really living through. The secret struggles, the hidden scandals, the whispers Hollywood tried to bury.
Tragedies in my life, and I can't say exactly that this is a tragedy, but I don't know of any that has moved me emotionally as much as this.
But now, years later, the shocking truth is starting to surface, and it's far messier than anyone could have imagined. So let's get into it. Red Skelton made millions laugh for over 20 years on television. The happy clown, the bumbling drunk, the innocent kid everyone adored. But behind the camera, things were far darker. Those who worked with him called it the Red Skelton Dirty Hour. What went down during those private rehearsals? Secrets that, if they had leaked, could have obliterated his career. When he passed away, lawyers uncovered a shocking clause in his will, one that, if enforced, might have erased his entire legacy from Hollywood history. The man America loved was hiding a storm of pain, scandal, and dangerous secrets.
Be clever, probably, and make clever witticisms about the heads of the network. But these are all fine gentlemen, and they are still my friends.
Red Skelton's story started under a shadow. Born July 18, 1913 in Vincennes, Indiana, just 2 months after his father's mysterious death, the circus world's bright lights hit a darker reality. His father, Joseph E. Hart, had been a circus clown who abandoned the ring for a life nobody talks about. And maybe, just maybe, his son inherited more than just his talent. But fate wasn't kind to Red Skelton. His father died in a circus tent collapse, the very world he had desperately tried to escape. That single disaster shattered his family, leaving them penniless, broken, and abandoned. His mother, Ida May, was forced to raise 4 children alone in a house drowning in grief and desperation. The poverty wasn't subtle. Neighbors didn't whisper. They mocked openly. So destitute, Ida scrapped together every job she could find. Scrubbing floors, running elevators, pushed to the brink of exhaustion just to survive. Red's family wasn't just poor, they were treated like failures before they even had a chance. Parents warned their daughters to stay away from him, assuming he was doomed from birth.
He says to my mother, I'm giving up law. I'm as guilty as that man I defended today. I got him out of it, and he never studied law again.
But those insults didn't break him, they fueled a fire. At just 7 years old, Red hit the streets as a newsboy, shouting headlines not for fun, but because every coin counted. Watching faces, reading reactions, he discovered a secret. Laughter could command attention, even power. Every paper sold wasn't just money. It was training in performance, manipulation, and charm. Then, at age 10, the unbelievable happened. While selling papers outside the Pantheon Theater, Red caught the eye of famous comedian Ed Wynn. Wynn didn't just buy all his papers, he pulled Red backstage, showing him the bright, cutthroat world of show business. It was fast, chaotic, and full of opportunity for someone willing to fight for it. That moment didn't just inspire Red, it ignited a hunger for fame that would shape every choice he ever made.
Champion. I liked Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin and Laurel and Hardy, you know.
Well, you were compared to those.
Right after meeting Ed Wynn, Red ditched school completely. He didn't tiptoe into showbiz. He plunged headfirst, joining Doc Lewis's patent medicine show at just 10 years old. These weren't glamorous stages. They were part traveling circus, part shady sales pitch, where he helped sell fake cures while forcing laughs from unsuspecting audiences. A child by age, but a hardened performer by necessity, Red worked night after night like a man twice his age, learning the ruthless art of entertainment. His mother said it best. Red didn't run away from home. His destiny caught him by 14. He had joined the John Lawrence Stock Company, acting in serious plays under tents. He earned $15 a week, a fortune for a boy. But no matter how serious he tried to be, audiences couldn't stop laughing at him. Supposed to make them cry, he made them snicker instead. The company didn't tolerate it. They abandoned him in a cheap hotel by the Missouri River, unpaid and alone. That could have been the end. But
The next week, he says, we've recut and everything. Would you like to go see it again? I said, well, I don't know. I've seen it twice now. I said, I'll go. So we went together. It came on. Whistling in the Dark, Red Skelton, Conrad Veidt, and so
Red wasn't done. Days later, he talked his way onto the Cotton Blossom, a stern-he showboat clinging to the old ways of river entertainment. There, he did it all. Danced, sang, joked, even performed in blackface, learning the hard, brutal lessons of vaudeville the way few ever survive. Every crowd was a battlefield, every night a test. That boat didn't just save him, it hardened him into a machine for making people laugh. By 15, Red Skelton had mastered the circus, medicine shows, showboats, burlesque, blackface minstrel acts, and even dance marathons where people literally collapsed for cash. He had followed in his father's clown footsteps, but where his father left the ring, Red conquered it, twisted it, and turned it into a career built on sheer survival.
Wallace Circus as a clown. My father had been a clown with Hagenbach and Wallace when he was a little boy and worked his way through school.
Red never stayed still. He did whatever it took to keep moving, keep working. While most kids his age were stuck in classrooms, Red was learning under harsh lights on unforgiving stages, shaping himself into something sharper, tougher, and smarter than anyone expected. Then, in 1930, Kansas City threw him a wild curve. Edna Stillwell. She was just 16, working as an usher at the Pantages Theater. Red was hosting a dance marathon, and Edna entered and won. But she didn't just take the prize. She told Red his jokes weren't good enough. That brutal honesty hooked him. A year later, they married. But Edna was more than a wife. She became his manager, protector, and secret weapon. She fought for better pay, sharper scripts, and even helped him study for a diploma. After their divorce 13 years later, she kept writing for him because she knew Red's timing, his rhythm, better than anyone else ever could.
So my wife that I was married to for 28 years knew that she was dying. And she says to Lothian, if anything happens, you take care of him and don't let anyone hurt him because you know him better than anyone.
Their breakthrough? A mundane diner in Montreal. Watching people dunk donuts into coffee sparked the idea for the now famous Donut Dunkers sketch, a pantomime act where Red showcased every absurd way someone could dunk a donut. Ridiculous? Yes. Brilliant? Absolutely. Audiences went wild, and New York took notice. In 1937, they were booked at Lowe's State Theater, finally in the big leagues. That sketch didn't just make people laugh, it propelled Red into radio, movies, and even the White House. President Roosevelt invited him to perform, and soon Red was hosting presidential birthday events, a level of prestige few vaudeville performers ever touched.
President Roosevelt's birthday balls every year. And I was there for 6.5 years. He came in, he didn't have anything to do. Here's the biggest star in most.
The true turning point came in August 1937 on the Fleshman's Yeast Hour with Rudy Valley. A simple donut routine, but the reaction was explosive. Fan letters flooded in. He was invited back twice more that year. Suddenly, Red Skelton was no longer just a stage performer. He was a rising radio star. By October 1938, NBC made it official. But behind all the laughs, deals, and headlines, there were power plays, cutthroat backstage politics, and secrets only Edna knew. Secrets that would shape Red's rise in ways the public never suspected. Red Skelton's rise wasn't just talent. It was strategy, timing, and a little behind-the-scenes manipulation. He became the new host of Avalon Time, replacing Red Foley, and behind every laugh was Edna Stillwell, his wife and secret weapon. She wasn't just helping out, she was his main writer, creative partner, and the unseen force shaping his success. Every voice inflection, every zany character, every bit of physical comedy came from a team carefully engineered to make Red irresistible to radio audiences.
Innocence in the way she did things. She didn't know she was funny. She'd have known, she'd have tried, and she'd been out. But she didn't know she was funny. She could.
By 1941, Red was ready to hit the national stage. The Raleigh cigarette program, launched on October 7th, became an instant hit. Characters like Junior, the mean Whittle kid, weren't just funny, they were cultural phenomena. His catchphrase, "I doed it," even crept into newspapers and headlines during wartime. One bomber plane was dubbed "We Dud It," thanks to the craze. Other creations, like Clem Cadill Hopper, were drawn from real-life neighbors. Red mined his own life for content, blending reality with comedy. The show was also notable for its diverse talent, including AZ and Harriet Nelson, and comedian Wonderful Smith, whose presence added layers of authenticity and depth. But the run ended in June 1944 when Red was drafted into the Army, cutting short a period where he had already made an indelible mark on American pop culture.
Has come to say goodnight.
Red's big screen career had begun even earlier. In 1938, he debuted in Having Wonderful Time, a summer camp comedy starring Ginger Rogers and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. He played Itchy Fallner, the chaotic social director. Most of his scenes were cut, but his timing and energy couldn't be ignored. The film grossed over $1 million, giving Red a foot in Hollywood's door. His signature routines, especially the Donut Dunkers bit, were starting to get noticed by studios and by those who could make or break careers. Behind the laughs, behind the fame, Red's world was a mix of ambition, manipulation, and carefully curated genius, all orchestrated with Edna quietly pulling strings in the background. From that point on, Red became a Hollywood fixture at MGM. Between 1938 and 1951, he appeared in over 30 films. Ship Ahoy in 1941 put him alongside Eleanor Powell and Burt Lahr. Then came Bathing Beauty in 1944, originally written for Red, but remembered for launching Esther Williams into stardom. In 1948, he starred in The Fuller Brush Man, playing a door-to-door salesman tangled in a murder plot. Red's style wasn't just funny, it was warm, silly, and full of heart. A mix of comedy and genuine emotion that made him one of MGM's most reliable comedy stars throughout the 1940s. The same year his Raleigh cigarette program began, he also starred in Whistling in the Dark. That year, 1941, he was voted top new radio star, beating out legends like Jack Benny and Fred Allen. What set him apart? Clean, universally appealing humor. No politics, no dirty jokes, just strange, lovable characters everyone could enjoy.
Me, naturally, because it was show business. I mean, this is what you've dreamed of all your life, watching the movies.
Everything changed in March 1944. Red was drafted into the Army right at the peak of his career. His Tuesday Night Raleigh program was one of the highest-rated shows in the country, and both his sponsors and MGM pleaded for a deferment. None of it worked. On June 6, 1944, his final show aired. The very next day, he became a private skeleton. Ozzie and Harriet Nelson took over his time slot, and just like that, America's favorite voice vanished from the airwaves.
Going, they find it necessary to change, and I hope for the best. I hope.
The war made no exceptions. Red got no special treatment. He trained, marched, and fought like any other soldier, leaving behind the spotlight and the empire he had built. Behind the laughs and accolades, the world he knew disappeared overnight, and Red would have to survive in a reality far harsher than any stage or studio had ever demanded. But there was a twist in Red's rise. Even in the Army, he couldn't escape the spotlight. Between drills, he was constantly pushed to perform, sometimes 12 shows a day. It wore him down fast. In his diary, he wrote about feeling faint on stage, forgetting parts of his act, and barely covering it up. The signs were there. His body and mind were straining under impossible pressure.
All networks going because I love this business. I quit motion pictures 1 year before my contract was up so that I could be in television.
In April 1945, he was sent to Italy. That month alone, he did 41 shows in just 6 days. Soldiers loved him. Chaplains praised him for lifting morale, but Red was running on fumes. And then came the collapse. He broke down in Naples, rushed home, and spent 3 months in a military hospital. The public never heard the full story. Newspapers gave it a soft touch, but inside, Red was shaken to his core. He developed a stutter, and the man who had bounced effortlessly between characters was no longer the same. One small moment in the hospital hinted at his healing. Red noticed a silent fellow soldier and tried to make him laugh. That tiny spark reminded him of why he performed, but the scars lingered. In September 1945, he was officially discharged. He joked about being the only celebrity to enter the Army as a star and leave as a private, but it wasn't just a joke. Red had refused the easy path, no Hollywood unit, no cushy desk job, and it had changed him forever.
I refused to sign a motion picture contract unless they gave me a television clause. And they all thought I was nuts, and they says, give it to him.
The breakdown left its mark. The stutter lingered, and so did the emotional toll. Yet by December 4th, 1945, just 10 weeks after leaving the Army, he was back on air. The Raleigh cigarette program returned, and fans cheered. But those closest to him noticed the shift. Red was still funny, still sharp, but there was a darker edge beneath the laughter. His new characters carried shadows of real pain, reflecting someone who had survived something profound. When Red Skelton's show debuted on NBC on September 30th, 1951, it didn't just fill a time slot, it exploded onto television screens, bringing a mix of comedy and depth no one had seen before. But behind every laugh was a man who had seen the cost of fame, war, and survival, a side of Red Skelton few ever glimpsed. By the time Red Skelton stepped onto television, he was already a radio and film star, but the country was dying to see what he could do on this new medium. Thanks to the revolutionary coaxial cable, viewers across the U.S. could watch him live, all at once, and the response was electric.
Well, Killer Diller ain't gonna wipe us out again with another bank robbery.
Yeah, but Mayor, how do you know?
In the very first episode, Red closed his monologue by being yanked off stage by two invisible hands, a hilarious stunt that quickly backfired, causing real injuries and forcing him to drop the bit. But even with the mishap, the episode shook the nation. By season's end, his show was number 4 across all networks, and at the 1952 Emmy Awards, Red won Best Comedian, while his show took Best Comedy, unseating Milton Berle, who had long dominated the scene.
I do thank each and every one of you, ladies and gentlemen, because I've missed you every Tuesday night, really and truly, for the last...
For the next 20 years, Red didn't just make people laugh. He shaped the way Americans laughed. In 1954, he moved his show to CBS, securing more airtime and creative freedom. By 1962, the show had expanded to a full hour, becoming a Tuesday night staple for families. It stayed in the top 20 for nearly 2 decades, even hitting number 2 in national ratings in the mid-60s. Red didn't just dominate comedy, he pushed the boundaries of technology, personally funding color broadcasts between 1955 and 1960, long before CBS fully embraced it. Yet, even legends aren't safe. In 1970, CBS canceled the show, not for ratings, which were still strong, but to chase younger viewers. It was a harsh reminder that even stars can be swept aside overnight. Among his many creations, one stood out: Freddie the Freeloader, introduced in 1952. A silent clown living in a shack, Freddie always smiled despite having almost nothing. He was drawn from Red's own memories of his father, a circus clown who died young. Freddie wasn't just a character, it was Red's soul on screen. Through him, audiences glimpsed the pain, resilience, and heart behind the laughter.
A lot of you are new, a lot of you are the old folks that even came with me over here. And there have been great tragedies in my life.
Even at the height of his career, Red Skelton believed something good was coming, even when life looked bleak. He often said that Freddie the Freeloader was the purest of all his creations. The silent spot, where Freddie didn't speak, became a hallmark of the show, letting Red tell entire stories with just his face, hands, and movements. Freddie would later get his own HBO special in 1981, proving the character lived on in people's hearts. Through Freddie, Red gave audiences more than laughter. He gave them hope. But behind the scenes, Red's life took a devastating turn. On May 10, 1958, his 9-year-old son, Richard, died of leukemia, just 10 days before his 10th birthday. The Skelton family was shattered. Richard hadn't fully understood how sick he was. Red and Georgia tried to protect him, but his small body couldn't withstand the endless transfusions. In his final hours, Richard's thoughts were for others, not himself. With bruises covering him and an IV in his leg, he asked his father one last favor. "Daddy, will you get Mama that red blanket for Mother's Day?" Those were some of his last words before falling into a coma. At 8:36 p.m., he died, leaving Red and Georgia cradling their grief among the toys and the stuffed dog Richard had loved since age 6. Georgia later said she had held back her tears until that moment, honoring her son's wish not to cry.
Life. And I can't say exactly that this is a tragedy, but I don't know of any that has moved me emotionally as much as this.
On Richard's final full day, Red brought a Sears catalog to the hospital and let him pick anything he wanted. Richard chose camping gear, a tent, and that red blanket, not for himself, but for his mother. Even as he faced death, he thought of others, requesting no big party, only a small cookout with friends. That red blanket became a symbol of his love, treasured by Georgia for the rest of her life. After Richard's death, Red couldn't bear to enter his room. Everything stayed untouched, toys, packed bag, and all, frozen in time as a haunting reminder of loss. The tragedy revealed the depth of love, grief, and resilience behind the public laughter of Red Skelton, a man whose private pain was far darker than anyone could imagine. Even after his son's death, Red often sat alone in Richard's room, quietly sinking into depression. The grief didn't stay private for long. It started seeping into his work and his marriage. Red and Georgia had held themselves together for Richard's sake, but once he was gone, the sorrow drove a wedge between them, and eventually, their marriage ended. Red's comedy began to shift subtly. He still performed, still made audiences laugh, but the sadness in his eyes was impossible to miss. That untouched room became a shrine, a place where the clown could cry, a space for memories he couldn't speak aloud.
All of the living rooms that I used to live in, I've always lived in beautiful homes. I would walk from a crummy dressing room out into my living room onto the stage to the most beautiful living rooms in the world, and I found...
Most fans never knew that Red was also a serious painter. He started at age 5, traveling with his mother during her circus work. After his father, a clown, died before Red was born, the circus became his world, and his paintings reflected it. He painted clowns, some cheerful, some lonely. These weren't random pieces. They were connected to the characters he played, including Freddy. By the 1980s, his paintings were selling for over $80,000 each, and his lithographs made millions annually. Some art experts believe Red earned more from painting than television, and his works now reside in private collections around the world. It was a secret second career, always lurking just beneath the surface. Red had another hidden truth. He never drank a drop of alcohol, yet he became famous for playing drunks. His Guzzler's Gin sketch helped launch his TV career, fooling millions into thinking he had first-hand experience. In reality, he was allergic to alcohol. He couldn't even sip it. Instead, he perfected the act by watching real drunks on the streets during his vaudeville years, imitating their slurred words, shaky steps, and unpredictable moves with uncanny precision. It was all performance, none of it real, yet it convinced the nation and cemented his reputation. The wholesome image of Red Skelton never fully matched the man backstage, a performer haunted by grief, fueled by genius, and hiding secrets that most of the world would never guess. Behind the polished laughter and wholesome TV persona, Red Skelton had a wild private life. During rehearsals with Martha Raye and close friends, he would unleash dirty jokes and biting sarcasm, creating sessions that crew members later called the Red Skelton Dirty Hour. He riffed on every taboo topic, exploring ideas he'd never touch on air. His third wife, Lothian, said Red kept a special corner in his mind for jokes no one else was supposed to understand. It was his pressure valve, a secret release for the darker humor that fueled him. The world got one version of Red, but he needed to laugh in private too. Red Skelton spent nearly 2 decades lighting up American television, with his show consistently in the top 10. But in 1970, none of that mattered. CBS canceled the Red Skelton show, and it wasn't about ratings or performance. It was about image. The network decided to purge anything too rural or too old, a move that became infamous as the Rural Purge. In one sweep, CBS axed not only Red, but also the Beverly Hillbillies, Green Acres, and Mayberry RFD. CBS president Fred Silverman didn't flinch. He wanted younger urban audiences. Ratings, legacy, audience loyalty, all irrelevant. This brutal shift replaced family favorites with edgier fare like All in the Family and MASH, leaving millions of loyal fans behind. Red wasn't just disappointed, he was crushed. Performing in Las Vegas when he heard the news, he admitted, "My heart has been broken." For For 17 of his 20 years on television, his show had dominated the ratings, but CBS didn't care.
Couldn't face it, I guess. Isn't that awful? But Mr. Mayor, everybody talked about Mr. Mayor.
For Red, the betrayal cut deep. CBS didn't see decades of service or a loyal audience. They looked at numbers on a demographic sheet. His wife, Lothian, said Red never truly healed from that blow. He felt tossed aside by the very industry he helped build. Even after the cancellation, he kept performing, sometimes up to 70 live shows a year, but the pain of being discarded never left. He told Lothian, "I'm mad that they didn't understand that I still had something to give." NBC tried to bring him back later in 1970, but they messed with everything. The show was cut from 1 hour to 30 minutes, moved from Tuesday nights to Mondays, and a cast of young actors disrupted the flow. The set turned cold, stiff, and lifeless. Viewers could feel it. What had once been effortless now seemed forced. Ratings plummeted, never breaking the top 30. By spring 1971, NBC canceled the show for good. Red Skelton's era on weekly television was over, along with the intimate bond he had built with his audience. Yet, Red didn't compromise. He refused to go vulgar, refused to add shock or swearing to his act. "I'm not going to have my audience and their mothers, fathers, children, and grandchildren hear me recite what they can read on bathroom walls," he insisted. While other comics adapted to the times, Red stuck to clean, respectful humor. He continued performing on stage, touring colleges, clubs, and charity events. People still showed up, still laughed, and still loved him. He proved that wholesome comedy could survive and thrive without compromise. Then, in 1980, came a shock no one expected. 13 of his former writers filed a lawsuit after discovering a clause in Red's will. All tapes of The Red Skelton Show were to be destroyed upon his death. If carried out, decades of work would vanish. No reruns, no syndication, no residuals for the writers. Red wrote the clause during a dark period, feeling abandoned by the industry, but the backlash forced him to rethink. He later asked, "Would you burn the only monument you've built in over 20 years?" Eventually, he allowed some episodes to be preserved, saving both his legacy and the writer's contributions. The incident revealed how much pain and resentment he still carried, even decades into his career. Red Skelton's personal life was plagued by tragedy as well. On May 10, 1976, his ex-wife, Georgia Davis, took her own life, using a gun in the backyard of her Rancho Mirage home. The date wasn't random. It marked the anniversary of their son Richard's death from leukemia in 1958. Georgia never recovered. She battled alcoholism and depression, haunted by grief she couldn't escape. For Red, the laughter on stage couldn't erase the heartbreak backstage, a darkness the public never saw. Their marriage didn't survive. Red and Georgia divorced in 1971, but the darkness surrounding her didn't end there. Just 5 years earlier, in 1966, she had been shot in the chest with a .38 in Las Vegas, an incident shrouded in mystery, never fully explained. After Georgia's death in 1976, Red retreated completely. He stopped performing for more than a decade, withdrawing from the spotlight. The grief consumed him, a private torment hidden behind his public smile.
That was number one. He says, now you run your commercials right into the play. He called it a play.
In 1973, Red remarried. His new wife, Lothian Toland, daughter of legendary cinematographer Greg Toland, became his anchor. Red was 60, she was 36. They moved to a quiet ranch in Anza, California, tending to horses and bonsai trees, deliberately avoiding Hollywood's glare. Lothian became his source of peace, preserving his legacy with a quiet devotion. Red wrote her letters daily, intimate glimpses into his mind and heart, some of which she would only discover after his death. Even without television, Red never stopped performing. He kept up to 70 live shows a year, from Carnegie Hall to college auditoriums and casinos. He also poured himself into painting, focusing on clowns. Collectors were captivated. Some of his works sold for over $80,000, and he reportedly earned up to $2.5 million a year from his art. Yet behind the success, the sadness never left. Every smile he gave audiences was earned through personal sorrow, every laugh a mask for grief he could never fully escape. Red Skelton died on September 17, 1997, at Eisenhower Medical Center in Rancho Mirage, California. He was 84, succumbing to pneumonia. His final years were quiet but far from idle. He painted, performed, and worked But the joy he once radiated never fully returned. Friends said he never got over losing his son Richard or Georgia. His clown paintings, bright and cheerful on the surface, carried a darker, almost haunting undercurrent, revealing the private man who lived to make others laugh while privately mourning.
Instinct, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He says, now what you should do is just flash onto the screen Act 1, Act 2, Act 3.
In 2013, Red's hometown of Vincennes, Indiana, opened the Red Skelton Museum of American Comedy on the campus of Vincennes University. The date, July 18th, would have been his 100th birthday. It's more than a museum. It's a testament to the complex man behind the mask, a man whose life was as tragic and mysterious as it was brilliant and hilarious. The museum holds more than just memories. Scripts, costumes, rare footage, over 200 paintings, and even personal items donated by Lothian reveal the man behind the mask. It's a glimpse into a life that was often private, troubled, and far more complex than the smiling clown everyone knew. The museum also hosts events like the America's Clown Award and the Laughter Film Festival, while the Red Skelton Research Archive, now part of the Indiana Historical Society, safeguards thousands of scripts, photographs, and musical scores, pieces of a legacy nearly erased more than once. Red created characters that went beyond jokes. Clem Cadill Hopper, Freddie the Freeloader, the Mean Whittle Kid, they weren't just gags. They were windows into his heart, reflections of the life he lived behind the laughter. His work shaped American comedy, influencing legends like Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, and countless others. The Red Skelton Show ran for 20 years, earning multiple Emmys and becoming a staple in households across the country. The Red Skelton Show is an American television comedy variety show that aired from 1951 to 1971. In the decade prior to hosting the show, Richard Red Skelton had a successful career as a radio and motion picture star. Although his television series is largely associated with CBS, where it appeared for more than 16 years, it actually began and ended on NBC. During its run, the program received 3 Emmy Awards, for Skelton as Best Comedian and the program as Best Comedy Show during its initial season, and an award for comedy writing in 1961. In 1959, Skelton also received a Golden Globe for Best TV Show. Red Skelton's network television program debuted at the start of the 1951 fall season on NBC, sponsored by Procter & Gamble. Due to an agreement with MGM, Skelton could not go on air before September 30th, 1951. After 2 seasons airing on Sunday nights, the show moved to CBS in the fall of 1953, settling into the Tuesday night slot that would define most of its run. For a brief period in the summer of 1954, the show aired on Wednesday nights and expanded to an hour, before returning to a half-hour format. Eventually, it returned to Tuesday nights, where it remained for 16 years, co-sponsored by Johnson's Wax and Pet Milk from 1955 to 1962.
I would like to thank each and every one of you, and I sincerely hope that I haven't said or done anything to offend anyone. If I did, I really didn't mean to.
The program was produced at Desilu Productions and CBS Television City in Hollywood. Between 1955 and 1960, it was telecast in color around 100 times, making it one of CBS's most frequent color broadcasts during a period when the network rarely aired shows in color. In 1960, Skelton purchased the Chaplin Studios, intending to use them for both his TV show and film projects. Although CBS eventually ceased regular color broadcasts, only occasionally airing specials in the annual broadcast of The Wizard of Oz, Skelton remained fascinated by color television. He even persuaded CBS to colorcast his show and invested in 3 rental remote vans equipped for live, film, and color videotape production. Despite the venture being ahead of its time, it demonstrated Skelton's forward-thinking vision. When the color initiative faltered, CBS bought Skelton's facilities as part of renewing his contract. From 1956 to 1962, Sherwood Schwartz, later famous for creating Gilligan's Island and The Brady Bunch, served as head writer for Skelton's show, earning an Emmy Award in 1961 for his work. In September 1962, the program was again expanded to a full hour, becoming the Red Skelton Hour, and remained in this longer format for the balance of its CBS run. The format of the program itself during this period was quite simple. CBS ended its association with the program in early 1970. This apparently marked the beginning of one of several attempts by CBS to downplay programming, even shows gaining relatively strong Nielsen ratings, whose primary appeal was to Middle America, an audience more rural and also somewhat older than that generally desired by network television advertisers. Marketers were moving towards a younger, hipper, and more urban audience. See the rural purge. Skelton was reportedly heartbroken at the cancellation. Partly because of Skelton's iconic status, NBC picked up the program in late 1970. But the show that aired was very different from what his CBS audience had come to expect. The set was dark, lacking the bright, colorful backdrops of the CBS era. The show was reduced to a half hour and moved from Tuesday to Monday nights. Perhaps the biggest change was the addition of regulars alongside Skelton, Rose, and Rose's Orchestra. A repertory company of young comic actors joined the cast, along with veteran performers like Eve McVeigh and the Burgundy Street Singers, previously seen during Jimmy Rogers' short-lived ABC comeback 2 years earlier. The new format never clicked. Audiences felt a lack of chemistry between Skelton and the repertory company. The show ended in March 1971, though selected episodes from this final season were rerun on Sunday nights later that year by Procter and Gamble. In many ways, Skelton's network television career ended where it had begun. Skelton continued making appearances for many years afterward, often as a nostalgic figure, but he never returned as a regular on network television. In recognition of his enduring impact, he received the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences Governor's Award, a Lifetime Achievement honor, in 1986. He was later inducted into the Television Hall of Fame in 1989. But behind the smiles, behind the TV ratings and accolades, there was always more. A man who carried grief, loss, and secrets that few ever glimpsed. Today, his laughter still echoes, but the shadows behind it remind us of the troubled genius who gave America joy while silently battling his own darkness. That's it for today. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.